My friend, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that God is more powerful, or do you believe that Satan is more powerful? Because the claim that we cannot stop sinning is very popular within Christianity, but the truth that you need to know behind that statement is that by saying that, you're saying that you believe Satan is more powerful than God. Let's look at a few scriptures. God comes to Abraham in Genesis 17 and he says, "Walk before me and be thou perfect." The word for perfect means that, and it means without blemish, without spot, undefiled, whole. And you may be saying, well, that's Old Testament. Jesus tells us the same thing. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. And that word that Jesus used for perfect means very similar, perfect, referring to moral character. The book of Jude, verse 24, says that God is able to keep us from falling and to present us faultless. And there's no caveat here about any percentage less than 100%. It doesn't say that God is able to keep you from falling 90% of the time. It doesn't say that God is able to make you faultless about 95% of the time. Those caveats don't exist. God is able to keep you from falling, and he is able to present you faultless. The Bible says that God is coming back for a church without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that it should be holy and without blemish. 7 times in the letters to the 7 churches, every single church says, "To him who overcomes." And again, the Bible says all sin and sinners will be destroyed in the lake of fire. Sin will not exist in heaven. Sinners will not be allowed in heaven, because there will enter into the city nothing that defiles. By the time Jesus returns, his people will no longer be sinners. They will be forgiven saints, having been given complete victory over sin. Yes, we can only overcome through Jesus, through his grace. We cannot earn salvation. We cannot work our way into his favor. And if we keep our eyes on Jesus, if we truly love Jesus, then he will get us to that point. But the death knell of modern Christianity, what will prove the eternal damnation of most modern Christians, is this. It's the belief that we cannot overcome sin. It's the belief that we cannot stop sinning. We have got to overcome that satanic mindset, because if we don't, we won't be in heaven. You know, in ancient times, in ancient Israel, they had something called the Day of Atonement ceremony. Nobody was allowed to work. They had to stay home and search their hearts. Anybody who did not do this was cut off from Israel and kicked out. Because you see, the high priest was going through his round of ceremonies that was cleansing the ancient Israelite sanctuary, which was a symbol of something much more prophetic in the end times. And by the time that high priest was done, anybody who had not searched their hearts and confessed their sins, they were cut off and thrown out of Israel. And prophetically speaking, the Bible shows us that the judgment started here in 1844. This is the end time Day of Atonement. This is the time where God's people need to be searching their hearts, confessing their sin, and asking God for his grace to help them overcome. If you want a more detailed explanation of this, look for my video, 1844 Made Simple. Daniel was in vision in Daniel chapter 8, and in verse 14, he heard the answer to a question. The question was regarding the sanctuary, and the answer was, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Now in Bible prophecy, right here on my left, a day equals a year, so it's not 2,300 days, it's 2,300 years. The starting point was in 457 BC, and it ended in 1844 when the pre-Advent judgment started. The reality, friend, is that not only can we overcome through the grace of God, but for those who truly love Jesus and want to see him in heaven, it's a must. Not to try to earn anything, but because we love him.